Alright, let's dive into the samba stuff. So let's just go through and um, check the seam on all these loops and see how we did there. I like that one a lot. Super clean. Let's check this one. Yeah, really nice. Check this one. And that one's not so great, right? What are we hearing there? I don't think I'm hearing any clicks or pops, but it's just a it's like a dynamic thing. I think mostly like the end here is louder than the beginning, so that makes it sound a little weird. What if we cut it where that kick drum comes in? It sounds like maybe the choice of split location wasn't all that great. Put it right on this kick, maybe? Or as close as we can get to it. I don't know. Let's try there. We'll fade. And then we'll snap this back to the beginning. Zoom out. Snap back to the beginning. And now we gotta fix this because we changed it at the beginning. So option. Okay, while I'm looking at this, so you get this curved fade here. I don't know if you know about this, but I believe you get that icon change in your mouse. If you right click that, yeah, you get all these different fade options. So lots of different fade options. So that's what you had. That might be the default, which is why you had it. You can change that in your preferences somewhere if you want, but there's a lot of times actually where I just kind of go in and manually, like, actually I find that this one works pretty good a lot of times. As far as getting rid of like pops or clicks, the type of fade you use actually has a pretty good effect on that some of the time. Not all the time, but good to know about. So let's see if that sounds any better. It's better, right? I think it was mostly just split, kind of like you split sort of in the middle of the bar or whatever, possibly. Well, actually, probably not, right? Because you have your kick drum on the twos or on the second half note of the bar. So maybe I'm messing up what you got going on here, but I don't know. To me, I guess I changed what you were doing. I'm hearing it slightly different, but this is a better transition. Anyways, let's check the next one. This one's so much quieter. I'm just going to bring this up so we can hear it better. Right click, item properties, volume. Okay, you had that way down for some reason. What if we just put it at 0? Much better, right? This is a little weird, right? Different sound. Like you're over on the cymbal here. Here you're just, on the snare? So a different split location might improve that. I'm kind of just moving forward because for what we're going to do with this, we don't really need it. So let's check this one. So that one we're getting a little bit of a click or a pop or something. You put in a fade there, that looks good. Could just be sort of split location. I want to turn this one up a little bit too. Yeah, I'm not sure why you have these so low, but whatever. Turn that up. Now it's too hot. Let's split the difference. Drop it by 6 or 8. Sounds like maybe the beginning is kind of weird. I'm not really sure about all of that information right there. I guess what you did here is probably what I would do. But I don't know. What if we split it? What if we split it a little bit closer to this waveform? Like if we could find something in here, like maybe in here. This zero crossing, get rid of that stuff and put a kind of a healthy fade in there, maybe a little healthier. And then of course snap that back to the beginning, come to the end, snap that, whoops, snap that to the grid, option, oh, I see. This stuff, I don't think we need that stuff. That's probably what was causing the problem. So we should, let me get rid of that fade. We should get rid of that stuff probably. You can tell just by looking at it. So split that. A little fade. Maybe too much fade. And now snap to the grid. Okay, let's see what that's like, huh? Ah, nice, right? Nice and clean. So you had some extra waveform stuff, mostly at the end, but yeah, some of that stuff at the beginning might have been causing a problem too. So it's just a matter of getting a little more particular with where exactly you split. And I'm assuming you could probably hear that this didn't sound that great, but you weren't sure why. And your fades and your zero crossings looked pretty good. So chances are it was actually where you split the thing that was causing the problem. So just know that that's kind of the process when you come up with these issues, or when you come across these issues. So let me drop this a little bit. So we fixed this one. This one and this one were kind of weird, right? So let's get rid of those. We don't need them. I kind of like this one though. If you could fix this the way that I just did, then we can use it. And then let's check the last one. I want to bring this up a little bit. Probably not too much. Bring it up to there, maybe. Yeah, okay, so that kind of works, right? It's a different sound change, but let's hear it again. Yeah, I think that kind of works. Let's just look at and see what it looks like at the end and at the beginning. We may not need that stuff there. Let's see what the beginning looks like. Okay. That splash, that hi-hat splash, it's probably this, right? If we start it from there, more or less. Yeah. I don't think we need this stuff. Let's get rid of that. It's my ears were hearing that there was a little bit too much space between the end of the loop and the beginning of the loop. And now that we look at it, I think I've confirmed that. So there was that stuff there that I don't think we need. And snap that back to the beginning. Now we'll go to the end, and there was still some stuff here that probably we don't need, right? Kind of, if you zoom out a little, like where it gets darker here. So yeah, probably splitting in here-ish would make sense. And put in a little fade. Don't need much there, I don't think. And then we gotta snap that to the grid. Okay, now let's listen to that. You know what? I think yours was better. That sounds a little too abrupt to me. All right, so scratch what I just showed you. But, you know, sometimes that's the way it goes. Like, you think you can improve it, and then maybe you can't. What if actually we just left the stuff on the end, but we took the stuff off the beginning? So I'm just going to Command Z to undo all that stuff I did at the end. So we're back to where we started, and then we'd snap that to the grid. Let's see if that works. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, so I'm sort of making this up right now, but here's what I'm thinking we should do. Start having some fun with this. So let's shrink that. I like to have my click on the bottom, but doesn't matter. And then I want to put all these on one track. So basically we're going to use these as like sections for a composition. So let's come up to the first one and let's drag, oops. Okay. So these aren't actually loops yet. So if I drag it out, there's no little indent there. So what we need to do actually is bounce these out as stems so that we can actually use them as loops. So let's render those out. Stems, time selection, let's see. We're going to have to do them sort of individually as a time selection. Hang on, I'm thinking here. Thinking. Actually, you know how I want to do this? Let's open a new project tab. And let's change that to our tempo. And let's Command copy the first one, come over here, and paste. And that should all be there. And then let's render out from here, and let's do stems, entire project, no tail. I'll just throw this in my documents for now. Let's call it Samba 1. Let's stick with our think your resolution was 44:1. I'm used to doing 96. Mono, extreme, wave 24-bit, one file. Okay. And that should be there. Get rid of that. Come back here. Command copy. Come back here. Command paste. Command V for paste. Call this Samba 2. Get rid of that. Come back here. Command C. Command V. There we go. Samba 3. And we're just getting all of these bounced out so that we can actually drag them out as a loop. You have to bounce them out in order to be able to do that. Okay, and I guess since I'm here, why don't we just load all those into that project? So there they are, separate tracks. Okay, actually I could have put those all on the same track because that's what I want to do, but that's okay. So make that a little bigger. So now we should be able to drag this out. Yeah, so it dragged all of them out because they're all highlighted, which I didn't want. So unhighlight, now I just drag that out. See, it has that little indent. That's how you know it's a loop. And we should be able to hear that, and it should sound good. Sounds great, right? So, this guy is almost a minute long. Let's actually, yeah, for what we're going to do, let's drag out 4 of these suckers. And then let's come up here and put this one here. Let's see how that transition is. It's cool. It's very abrupt, but this is going to be like different sections for composition. So abrupt is okay. And I'm just picking like a random order. Like it doesn't have to be this. And actually, if you want to do something different, like feel free. Let's hear this one. Cool. Let's get 4 of that as well. And then the last one. And these are all snapping to each other because I have snap on, which makes it super easy. That one's super smooth, actually. Okay, drag that out. 4 of those. Now we can get rid of these tracks. Okay, now the crazy stuff happens. Let me change this color first. Cool. So basically, we'll have like 4 sections for a composition. And I think we should just write like a sort of instrumental thing. It'll be fairly short. Right now it's not short. We're at like 7 minutes and change. But check this out. So our tempo is 105. Let's speed this shit up and treat it sort of like a drum and bass track. Once you speed stuff up, everything sounds really cool. So I already tried this a little bit, and I figured that 175 would be kind of fun. So pretty hip, right? But now that we did that and we're still at like 4 minutes and change, let's shorten it up. Doesn't need to be that long. So let's cut all these down. Maybe that's not the best way to do it. I'm going to back out of my tempo change and do it that way because it's acting weird with the tempo change in there. So just cutting all these in half because I don't think we need to write a 4-minute thing for these purposes. Okay. All right. Now let's change that tempo. Cool, yeah? And let's check these transitions and hear what the other ones sound like too. Whoa, super cool. Let's check this one. Oh man, so cool, right? Check this one. Yeah, so fun, right? That's actually the way they did it, like the drum and bass stuff. Like they stole a drum groove out of a song, like a section of a song that it was just drums, and they stole it out of the song, and then they just sped it up, and that was the birth of drum and bass. So we're essentially doing that with what you played, and it sounds really cool. Now, what would sound even cooler, I think, and get us more into that drum and bass thing, is if we change pitch. So the speeding it up didn't really affect the pitch all that much, but we can do that. Select all of these, right click, item properties, and then pitch adjustment. So what if we go up like 5 semitones? What would that sound like? Pretty cool, huh? So I'm digging that. We're gonna want to click in here. So how do we do that? Where's our click? Click. Is it insert? I always forget because I don't do that much. Yeah, insert, click source. Whoops, that went in the wrong spot. We gotta set up a new track, and then insert, click source, and then should just be able to drag that out. And hopefully that's right. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now we have a click. So, so you need to do all of this. This will take you a minute, right? And that involves watching this really long video I'm recording right now. Yeah, let's go with this for now. And I'm hoping I can still have time to look at your loops stuff. I sent you an email a little earlier because I wasn't able to get that session with all the files in it. So it was kind of, I had the WAV files in there, but I kind of want all those individual samples like you sent me in the session, session, project. I use those terms interchangeably. But whatever, this turned into a pretty long video, and the train beat thing turned into a pretty long video. So if I don't get to that, I think you have all this stuff to work on. So, and feel free, to do your own thing here. If 175, like, you feel like it's not quite the right tempo for you, do whatever you want. And the pitch as well. Like, if you want to go higher, or not as high, or you don't want to change it, like, do your thing. But basically, actually, why don't we dive into this right now? Because I don't know if I'm going to get to your loop stuff, and I want to make sure you have enough stuff to work on, and that I'm giving you enough value every week. So let's go to the next step. Next step. Create a new track. Let's label this one click. Let's move it down here. And let's bass. So we're going to create a bass line, bass part kind of thing. And let's do that. Let's do that on separate tracks, I think. So duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Call this bass 1. Call this bass 2. Whoops. Bass 3. Bass 4. And get rid of that. Okay. And get rid of that gray color. Ooh. Too similar to the other one. Okay. All right. So you're going to create a bass part for each one of these song sections, composition sections. And I think just as far as recording MIDI or whatever, it's sort of easier to set them up as separate tracks, because every time you get to the end of a section or whatever, you might have some overlap, and then you got to trim or whatever. But you probably have to trim anyways. But this way, it's just a little easier, a little more flexible. We can always stick them on one track later if we want, but chances are we'll probably leave them this way and then set up like a bass bus for all the bass tracks, so we have control over all of them. So the fun part, plugins. Let's pick a plugin that might be fun. So I have a bunch of these Yuhi plugins. Maybe one of those. So basically we're looking at a synth. We want to get a synth bass thing going on. So these are all some synth plugins that I have. And I'm just trying to think of one that I know you're familiar with, Helm, which is pretty awesome. But I'm sort of thinking about picking something that maybe you don't have, or that you're not familiar with. This one's kind of fun. So, and I think we got a bunch of presets, basses, some different basses here. You could pick a lead, and then there's a bunch of options here. And as long as you change the octave on your MIDI keyboard and lower the octave, a lot of these leads will function really well as bass sounds too. So I think between the leads and the basses, and actually keys, there's a bunch here too that could probably work. Again, as long as you're playing them, down in the right octave. And actually for basses, you might need to be lower your keyboard down octave anyways. So I'm not going to tell you what to do here too much. I want you to go in and find a sound that you really like. And let's go with one bass sound for the entire composition. So this is sort of a limitation. We want the sections to sound different from each other, but let's not do that with the bass sound. The drums are going to be different, obviously, and when we can layer in some chordal stuff or some lead parts or other sound effects or stuff like that, maybe in those voices we can make more drastic changes. But a lot of times I find that keeping the same bass sound throughout the entire thing is kind of helpful. It's very easy to want to change bass sounds for each section, which of course you can do. But let's say for now we just sort of keep this simple limitation of we're going to use the same bass sound for the entire composition. And in a way, we're using the same drum sound for the entire composition, right? So anyways, go through all of these basses, keys, and leads, and make sure you're in a bassy octave on your keyboard. And find something that you really like and commit to it. And so this plugin is Cinna by newsofting, newsofting.com. Google this. It was a free download. I'm assuming everything's still good with that. Let's double check that. Cinna plugin. newsofting.com. So looks good. Probably maybe download up here. And is it this guy? Sorry, I haven't been to this website in a while. Update 1.1. Go back and look at this. I don't know why I'm not seeing it. We were here, and there should be download link at the page bottom. Okay, where is that? Maybe it's this. It's probably that. Yeah, and what's in here? So yeah, you just click through those folders like I just did. Click on the Mac. There you go. There's your installer package. Okay, so cool. I'm glad we actually looked at that because that was sort of hard to find where the hell the download was. Okay, so once you download and hopefully that's installed in Reaper and everything's cool, then you can go through this process. So the other thing I will say is that because the drums are so busy, a lot of times the bass lines and like drum and bass stuff are pretty simple. So maybe pick a different rhythmic concept for your bass lines for each section. So like say here, maybe you do like a whole note in the first bar, sustaining all the way through the second bar. So like a double whole note, right? And then here you would go to whole notes every bar. Here maybe you do like a some sort of rhythmic thing, like maybe like a the three side of the clave, you know, like like that kind of thing is pretty typical. And then here like maybe eighth notes or quarter notes or something. So maybe pick a different rhythmic concept, but basically everything is not crazy busy for the bass because the drums are already eating so much busy space. And probably every instrument we're going to throw on this should be fairly spacious. You could even get away with even less, like maybe just like a whole note in the first bar and then like 3 bars of rest, and it just sustains, you know, so you're just leaving all this empty space. And it doesn't have to be in that order. You can choose where you want to do this. But I would keep things just sort of long and ringy and fairly spacious because the drums are already eating up so much space. And then also maybe think about, you know, obviously pitch. So maybe some sort of chord progression. You could look at each section. Maybe each section is one chord. So the first section could be like a root chord, and then you could go to the 4 for the second section, and then you could go to the whatever you want for the third section. So each section is a different chord, so you end up with like this long chord progression in a way throughout the entire composition. Or, you know, maybe you want more chords going on. Maybe you want to, you know, whatever you want to do is cool. So I think this makes sense. So just bass stuff for now. Using that Cinna plugin, choosing one sound that you really like. And also worth mentioning, if I were doing this, I would really lay into the click when I'm recording this as far as what I'm hearing, and not so much the drums. In a way, you could just kind of ignore the drum track, but I would probably mix my headphones kind of like this for when I record bass. Like something like that. So the click is super hot, and then I just have this little underlayer of busy drums underneath it to give me the character of what the piece is going to be. But, you know, it's up to you what you want to do. The reason I do that, especially like when you get into here, you know, the drums get a little hectic. And, you know, I'm not the greatest keyboard player, so I'm probably going to get something a little cleaner and groovier if I listen to the click more than the drums. And we're so fast here that we could probably get away with just gridding our bass lines, but let's record them, you know, manually, actually play the part, and you can do multiple takes and get one that you're happy with. You could even turn your bass line into a loop and then bounce it out and reload it so that you actually have a short loop that you could drag out for the entire section. I do that a lot because it's easier than trying to get a complete take that sounds good. But let's leave all your bassline stuff off the grid. Just do it manually, and then we'll see what it sounds like next week. Chances are we'll want to go into the MIDI stuff and nudge things around. Or maybe we just want to throw it on the grid. It's a drum and bass thing. It's super fast. And that's kind of the character of that style, to have the stuff gridded anyways. So, cool. Am I forgetting anything? I think we're good. So this is a lot to work on. Setting this all up and then getting that plug in and spending a lot of time getting base stuff that you're happy with. So hopefully, if you store all the files and everything in one folder and the project files and all that, you can just send me that again next week, and I can just click on your project and have everything there. And that's going to be necessary because I want to be able to look at your MIDI stuff. Cool. All right, I'm wrapping this up. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.